So I really hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the cavalry isn't coming. Now wait, I understand. In America, we're conditioned to believe that reinforcements will be there when we need them. Whatever your situation, whatever you're working on, whatever situations are going on in your life, that when you need that help, it's going to be there for you. But you know what? That's really just not the case. So there are different steps, though, that you can do, that you can take to help yourself so that you don't need those reinforcements to come, so that you can take care of your situations without that kind of a help. So in this, we're going to talk about the steps that you can take personally so that you can make sure that you get done what you need to get done. Hey, my name is Mike Corwin, and I spent 30 years building cases for attorneys. And I can tell you something. No one ever hired me because something good happened. Now, the people that this happened to, oftentimes they expected other people to be able to intercede on their behalf, and it just did not happen. I help business owners with 3 different types of services. I help employers design, implement, and maintain an effective workplace violence prevention program that protects your employees and your bottom line and also complies with California's workplace violence prevention requirements. I also help business owners and professionals develop the personal safety skills that they need to keep safe in today's grievance-driven violence environment. And then finally, I help plaintiff law firms develop an effective in-house investigation system so that you are getting better recoveries for your clients and improving your bottom line. So let's look at personal safety. The biggest mistake that people think is that the government will protect you, that law enforcement will be there if you get attacked, and they'll take out the attacker. And look, television caused that to happen, right? With television, they're always showing somebody coming in from the outside at the last minute, steering that bus to safety and getting all the passengers off before it blows up. You know what I mean, right? But real life isn't that way. And as a matter of fact, if you call 911, it takes approximately 10 minutes for the police to show. But you know how long an actual attack takes? Go ahead and take a guess. So the average attack only takes about 7 seconds. And in that case, you're completely incapacitated by the attacker. So let's look at that. 10 minutes, 7 seconds. So it's on you to protect yourself. And obviously the goal is not to get attacked in the first place, to be able to recognize that there's a potential safety threat and to take constructive action before that threat becomes a reality and turns into an attack. Now, there are certainly different ways you can do that. You can implement situational awareness, which is probably the most important skill. You can take care of a situation sometimes through de-escalation, but I have to tell you, the way that most attacks happen, they're a sneak attack or a sudden attack, so de-escalation may not work. But if you learn how to read body language and you learn how to redirect a person, you just might be able to use that de-escalation. Now, what do you do if an attack has happened? That's where changing the dynamics of an attack comes into play. Now, what is changing the dynamics of an attack? It's simply equalizing and taking away the attacker's advantage that comes from a sneak attack. Again, the vast majority of attacks come without warning. So if you can take away that built-in advantage that comes from the attack, you have a chance to keep yourself safe. And then finally, and I know most people don't like to talk about it, but when an attack happens, it's either you defend yourself, you protect yourself, you give yourself the option to get out of there safely. Now, it's not the same as fighting. You're not going to engage and go through 15 rounds. The whole point of self-defense is to create an out so that you can escape safely. But if an attack occurs and you're either going to be pummeled, hurt, or possibly killed, you really don't have a choice. Now let's switch gears a little bit and go on to workplace violence prevention. So what do I mean by the cavalry is not coming? Again, if there's a workplace violence incident that begins and happens and escalates, the police are not going to get there within a time frame necessary to intercede. Now let me just make this really clear. The vast majority of active shooter situations and active attackers kill themselves before law enforcement gets there, or they leave the scene. So basically, the police are not going to stop it. And I'm not just talking about active shooter, because active shooter is relatively rare when it comes to workplace violence. But you have to prepare your people to recognize the potential of a physical attack. The best way to get them prepared, by the way, is for you to go through all of their safety hazards, to identify what their safety hazards are, what types of risks those pose to them, and then come up with approaches, even call them solutions, so that those types of attacks don't happen. Now, there's a lot to workplace violence prevention, but I want you to understand that in the end, keeping your employees safe, protecting your bottom line is up to you and only you. And then finally, look, when it comes to case preparation, and I spent 30 years doing it, plaintiff law firms have certain advantages, they have certain disadvantages. You work on a commission, a percentage, and so the greater your client's recovery, the greater your firm's revenue. But there's some difficult situations in there. The power of investigation when it comes to civil plaintiff work cannot be denied. I've helped attorneys take a case, what they thought was a $100,000 personal injury motor vehicle accident, and turn it into a $900,000 failure to care case. Okay? That $800,000 was a lot more money for the client and a lot more money for the law firm than initially anticipated. But you get the point. Now, how did I do that? I did that through investigation. And the difficult part for attorneys is you are not taught how to investigate. You're taught how to apply a given set of facts to the law that's out there. And that's great, but your firm can do this in-house. There are just certain processes that you need to be able to learn how to do. Most importantly, it starts with developing an investigation plan by understanding the different tools of investigation and matching your employees to make sure that the right person is handling the right type of work. Now, I'll give you an example. Witness interviews are the most powerful tool in a civil plaintiff law firm's arsenals. But not everybody is good at witness interviews. As a matter of fact, attorneys, again, are not taught how to do witness interviews. You guys are used to cross-examination. You guys are also used to not asking questions if you don't know the answer. But the whole thing about a witness interview is asking those questions regardless of what the answer will turn out to be, because information is a tool that helps you make decisions. There's an old lawyer expression that says there's only two types of cases: those that get better and those that get worse. And with good in-house investigation systems in place, you can not take on cases that have problems by doing a little bit of investigation work before you determine to take the case, and you can maximize your effectiveness on the cases you do take by getting the best information possible. Anyway, look, my main point here is I want you to understand that the cavalry is not coming, and that you are the person, though, that can take care of the situations that you need to, that can keep yourself safe, that can keep your employees safe, and that can build cases that really maximize client recoveries and firm revenue. So listen, I want you to take a look at my website, www.mikecorwin.com. I've got some upcoming workshops listed on the website that you might find beneficial and really might help you get to that next level, so that you're not looking for the cavalry to come. You're saying, I can do this. I can handle what I need to handle.